Welcome back to my channel. This is another episode of EPA Worldwide that is going to talk about the impact of parental alienation on adult children. Impact of parental alienation on adult children. If you are new, thanks for being here. If you have subscribed already, thanks for subscribing. All those that have subscribed, liked, shared my video, thanks for doing that. I appreciate it. We need to share to get the word out. Let somebody know there is a phenomenon called parental alienation, and there's a phenomenon called parental alienation syndrome that affects the children, the sufferers, the victims of parental alienation. And also there is a word called targeted parent, alienating parent in this vicious cycle. If you need to understand the details of what parental alienation is, who the targeted parent is, who the alienating parent is, please watch my other videos on the channel. And thanks for being here. If you are new, my name is Mamle Yoko Godwins. I am a survivor of domestic and spousal abuse, and I am a single mother of 2 boys. I am still going through financial abuse. Yes, but I am here giving glory to God. Trust me, it could be worse, but I'm here. Trust me, I'm here. You are here with me. Let's team up and give glory to God, okay? Yes. And then I am a nurse anyway. I'm a practicing mental health nurse. I'm a practicing telemetry nurse, and I will soon, in a month and 4 days, guess what? I will become a psychiatric nurse practitioner in the middle of coronavirus. Yes. So I have so much to be thankful for. Anyway, I'm going to discuss an article that was written by Amy and Naomi. Amy Baker is a developmental psychologist, a researcher, and an author of many topics on parental alienation and parental alienation syndrome. And then Naomi Benemi is also a licensed clinical psychologist who conducts psychotherapy for both individuals and couples. Yes, she's an expert in people with identity struggles, relationship problems, anxiety, separation disorder, depression, a lot. Like, these are evidence-based researchers, and they are evidence-based practitioners that have a lot of worth of information, worth of knowledge, that and a lot of research and articles that has been written by Dr. Amy Baker, that I have to come in contact with, that were very helpful and informative on the topic parental alienation. So the article we're going to discuss brief today is the title is "To Turn a Child Against a Parent is to Turn a Child Against Himself: The Direct and Indirect Effects of Exposure to Parental Alienation Strategies on Self-Esteem and Well-Being." Self-esteem and well-being. Okay, they have conducted a research, and this research, they have 118 adult children, pretty much like parental alienation syndrome children that are no more children but they are adults. Parental alienation syndrome children. Okay, they have used an anonymous kind of way of collecting data from them. They use remember, we're talking about tactics alienating parents use. So in this research, they used 19 of those tactics. I've seen an article with 32 tactics. It's not fun. Let's desist from parental alienation. Anyway, let's continue. So parental alienation, they use 19 tactics that alienating parents use, right? And they send the surveys out on the computer base. It was anonymous. So Amy Baker and Naomi, the researchers, don't know these subjects in person. So they don't influence. They just send the questionnaire to them, and they answer and send it back. So to ensure accuracy, okay, of the information. So they said that this research was done. The main reasons that they did this research was that they did it to investigate and to examine. It was done to examine the direct and indirect effects of exposure to the 19 parental alienation tactics that alienating parents use on divorced adult children. On adult children of divorced divorces, like children that grew up in divorce situation. Their parents were divorced. They went through parental alienation, where one parent turned them against the other parent. Now they are adults. This research was done to examine the direct and indirect effects on their exposure to parental alienation tactics. That's one examination. Two, they also further investigated, this research investigated the nature and prevalence of alienation strategies to which the 818 samples or subjects were exposed, as well as associations between exposure and self-esteem and self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency basically means the quality or condition of being self-sufficient. Who is a self-sufficient person? A self-sufficient person is a person that have a healthy relationship with, at least with themselves. They are in love with themselves. To be able to give somebody love, you are able to love yourself. You are able to take care of yourself. You are able to function in community. You are able to function, provide for yourself. You are not dependent. That's who a self-sufficient person is. At least that's how I understand it. If you have a different explanation, kindly put it in the comment section. Thank you. You see, so these are the two things they did. They evaluated. They examined the direct and indirect effects of the victims or the adult children that grew up in the parental alienation situation within a divorce, who have divorced parents. Okay, so the effect of the tactics the alienating parents use on them now. And then they also investigated if there is indeed an association of them experiencing that alienating tactics, brainwashing, bad mouthing, psychological manipulation, the targeted parent using those things to distract them and alter healthy relationship between them and the other parent, who is the targeted parent. How did it have a relation? Did it play a role in them developing the self-esteem issues they have now? Did it affect how self-sufficient they are now as adults? That is what the research tried to at least investigate, to find out. So Amy Baker and Naomi said every child must have a fundamental right and need to have a healthy, unthreatened, and loving relationship with both parents. They have their rights to do that. Every child have a right to both parents, to access both parents in a loving, healthy, and unthreatened way. Okay. Children who have undergone forced separation from one parent. Forced separation means like the alienating parent may use the court system to separate the children from the targeted parent, or even when there is an issue, there's a visitation situation, the alienating parent prevents the targeted parent from having access, which you will know I have been through all this. It's on the other videos if you want to listen to it. So they said that forced separation from one parent in the absence of abuse or parental alienation are highly subject to post-traumatic distress. If you don't know what a post-traumatic distress is, it is a disorder. It's a mental health disorder in which a person has difficulty overcoming or recovering from experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event. Post-traumatic disorder is a bad mental health disorder. Mostly people, combat, army, professional officials, soldiers that went to war, veterans, they experience that a lot. But if they are comparing it to parental alienation, then we as parents have to realize the magnitude of psychological distress, psychological trauma, psychological torture, psychological distraction we are nurturing in our children. We are destroying our children, and we need to desist from parental alienation tactics, because it says that every child, children that have, for those subjects. Among them, the adult children that were forcefully separated from one parent. Meanwhile, that parent wasn't abusing them, wasn't alienating them, wasn't doing anything harmful to them. But based on the alienated, fictitious, and selfish interest, has used the court system, the legal system, or himself or herself in one way or the other, forcefully separated the child from the parent. These children that went through that have become children with a mental health disorder called post-traumatic stress disorder. So, why was someone? The children also develop hatefulness. Hatefulness. Ask yourself, look at the environment we live in. Look at even Facebook. Look at social media. Look at how much hate we express, we direct at our fellow people. Even under comments, guys. Even under comments. Look at your work environment. How much hateful people you encounter. Look at the children in the school systems. Look at the statistics on bullying behaviors. So they said parental alienated children, that in this case, these subjects are adults now, they have developed hatefulness, hatred. Okay. Amy and Naomi said hatred is not an emotion that comes naturally to the vast majority of children. It has to be taught. Hatefulness has to be nurtured. It has to be taught. How you teach a child to become loving, welcoming, accepting of others. That's the same way children can be nurtured to become hateful. Okay? Do you want to do that to your child? A person who would teach a child to hate or fear other parents represents a grave. Where is a grave? Grave. A musie, where we bury people. A person that turns a child against another child, a parent, and nurtures them to hate, to be hateful of that parent. They said that alienating person is worse or compared to a grave. If you remember, I've been saying always that alienating parents are murderers. And it is true. At least you are hearing it from the psychologists. No, I'm not saying it this time. You are hearing it, but based on my experience, I said alienating parents are murderers. And now you hear it yourself from the researchers. And they are also compared to a parent who would teach a child to hate or fear the other parent represents a grave and persistent danger. That alienating parent is a persistent danger to the mental health and emotional health of the child. A parent that teaches a child to hate another parent is described as a grave and a persistent danger to the mental and emotional health of that child. Alienated children are no less damaged than other child victims of extreme conflict. So in this case, other child victims describe them as children that were held hostage, children that were abducted. In some cases, they said child soldiers, like instance like Boko Haram, B-O-K-O Haram, H-A-R-A-M, just if someone wants to Google what that is, whereby they hold the kids hostage, they give them guns, train them to battle. That terror, children that go through that terror and develop this anger and, psychological distraction, psychological trauma and distress are compared to children that have suffered parental alienation. So you see, it's like you said somebody is a fornicator and is a thief and is a sinner. You are also lying about somebody, but you see the person that fornicates as a sinner than you who lies. It's the same. So that's what they're comparing here. Children that goes through parental alienation, and then children that have faced such a terror in their lives are equal. The amount of damage, the amount of emotional, psychological trauma that they experience is the same. So guys, it's time where we have to start learning. Parental alienation is not a healthy thing. We have to stop our behaviors, put our selfishness about the financial need, the greed, the material, where the house you want to get in the divorce, the child support you want to get, put those aside and put your children first. Child focus, guys. Child focus. Child focus nurturing of our children will help them. Okay. Amy and Naomi also talk about the fact that their examination has found out, okay, that there is an association between self-esteem and higher rates of depression and insecure attachment styles and a trend for an association with alcohol abuse. A trend. You understand? So these children that have been through these things, they face self-esteem issues, high rates of depression, insecure attachment. I told you that I want to come and address in the future attachment disorder. And also threatens they have a behavior to use alcohol. If you look at the substance use disorders, alcohol is among the six most difficult to treat substance use disorders. ETOH. Alcohol use disorder is one of the 6 most difficult substance use disorders that can be treated. You understand? So it's important that we stop these things, because their research is indicating that there is evidence, there is an association between, and these subjects are not children. These people's samples that were used for this research are not children. They are adult children that found themselves one way or the other in a divorce situation, where their parents were divorcees, and they experienced parental alienation. You see? So you and I can do something about it. Let's stop parental alienation tactics. Parental alienation tactics. Parental alienation tactics. Let's stop, guys. Let's stop it. It will help our children. They say even after controlling the okay, so in a subject they had a control whereby now they have to they control the subjects, meaning that they have a physical they want to separate them. Okay, you are you suffer parental alienation syndrome, which is this 118 adult children that suffer parental alienation syndrome. They want to make sure that they suffer just that, the parental alienation syndrome. They did not suffer from sexual violence. They did not suffer from sexual abuse, physical abuse, and psychological maltreatment, things like that. These findings that I was describing earlier, the post-traumatic distress disorder, self-esteem issues, depression, high rates of depression, is another finding that they can add to the previous growing evidence regarding the long-term consequences of experiencing parental alienation, and indicate that in general, exposure to more alienation behaviors leads to more negative outcomes in children of divorce, which can be seen across the lifespan. Sisters and brothers, this is deep and this is serious. This is deep and this is serious. So children that go through parental alienation syndrome, or have been exposed to parental alienation because they find themselves the parental alienation don't only happen in divorce situation, but in this case it's happened, the parents are divorced, because mostly among divorced couples, that's when you see parental alienation, this highest rank. Don't forget the points to take home here is targeted parents are described as, I like to describe them as Medress, Amy Becker, and Naomi describe them as grave and persistent danger. They describe them as grave and they are persistent danger to the mental health and emotional health of the children. You understand? So let's desist from it. It's not going to help our children. They also talk about self-esteem, right? They talk about self-esteem. I also found an aspect. It's the aspects of parental alienation attorneys. And this, to be specific, the Joshi group. They also stated that self-esteem is one of the major issues that these people go through also. Self-esteem. So if somebody have low self-esteem, what does that mean? They have self-doubt. They self-blame for rejecting parents or abandoning siblings. You know, like it's not a good phenomenon. I just want to put it that way. So anyway, there is some good news. Good news. So Amy and Naomi described this good news. They said that reunification, for an alienated child to be reunified, for there should be a successful reunification between the targeted the targeted parent and the alienated children. There should be a careful process because the damage is great, it's tremendous. So you have to. But I was describing it the other time. The first point, the starting point is identifying that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. Then you can move on from there. You understand? Research has shown that many alienated children can transform quickly from refusing or resisting the rejected parent to being able to show and receive love from that parent. So in other words, the alienating children, they naturally, if you expose them, because there was no abuse, the target parent hasn't abused them, hasn't harmed them, hasn't done anything bad to them, it's easy for reunification, for them to bond again for them, but it takes measures, it takes bit by bit steps, and it have to be well structured and tactful in doing that. Alienated children seem to have a secret wish. Oh, why should any child have to do that? They seem to have a secret wish within them, their spirit, their soul. They wish to have someone call their bluff, compelling their bluff to reconnect with the parent they claim to hate. Their bluff in this case, I would say, is the alienating parent. So in their heart, they want somebody to call the alienating parent and say, hey, to help them reconnect to the so-called parent that the targeted alienating parent is trying to get them to hate them. Okay, so thanks for coming up, thanks for showing up. Like we said, it is not a good phenomenon. The effects are so tremendous. You saw it: post-traumatic distress disorder, depression, anger, hatefulness, alcohol use disorder. You know, it's just unnecessary to put a child through such things. So I'm calling on every parent that is going through divorce, is going through a custody battle, is going through it all, to find a medium and get a balance that may put the children first. The court is not for you. I keep on saying that, and I'll continue insisting on that. The system is not for you. The system just looks at who, and the one hurting is not the one that is being abused. It's not the one that the system will end up with the children. The one that is calm, lies, presents their case tactfully, structured, like format. They use a format. Or use a format, you know, to win the situation, to present as the most calm and most, I don't know how to put it. That is the person they end up giving the children to. And most of the time, that person is the abuser. That person is the, oh my God, there is so many research, there's so many children living in such a situation. So, and you don't want that. So if you are in such a situation, please, please, please. Anyway, thank you once again for being here. I appreciate everybody that has subscribed to EPA Worldwide. If you have not yet done that, kindly do that. Subscribe. Share. This word, this message need to get far. Let people know that parental alienation is detrimental to our children. We want to desist from it. Okay? See you soon in the next episode. Bye bye.